Twilight clung to window glass. The floorboards held the blue. A magnolia breathed below, where dawn was coming through. The canvas waited pale and still. The jars were lined in gray. My silhouette beside the pane looked softer with the day. No footsteps stirred the little room. No word had yet begun. Only the rag, the brush, the hush, and one unopened sun. The first gold on glass lay quiet on the jars and wall, and made the little room seem all. The first gold on glass. A teardrop trembled near my hand, then vanished in the light. The rooftops gave their last faint blue and yielded up the night. I did not lift the waiting brush. I only stood and knew some gentle things arrive on earth before we ask them to. A reverie moved through the room, so warm, so faint, so slow. The starlight left the window pane to let the morning grow. No serenade came through the street. No banner met the sky. Only a little golden hush and one awakening sigh. And then I knew how beauty starts. Not trumpets blaze or cry, but where a common pane of glass lets one kind hour go by. The first gold on glass lay quiet on the jars and wall, and made the little room seem all. The first gold on glass. At last I laid the color down. The room grew mild and cages woke before the street. Their little wires rang, and April stood outside the glass while every yellow throat sang. You swept the seed husks from the shelf with one slow, careful hand, then filled the cup with millet grain and leveled off the sand. The rabbits slept in cedar shreds, the goldfish turned below. A boy pressed pennies to the pane and watched the finches go. You took one cage from near the light, not bright enough to stare, and tied a blue tag to its hook as if a name were there. Blue tag on the canary, small against the morning wire, told no song, and yet it seemed to steady all that choir. Blue tag on the canary, I watched your fingers stay and felt a common errand turn almost holy for a day. You checked the latch and checked it twice, then moved the perch aside so nothing sharp would catch a wing when carried on the ride. A woman came with shopping string, a schoolgirl chose a bowl. The bell above the doorway shook and let the sunlight roll. You said he startles if you rush, then lowered down your tone, and all at once that little cage looked less like being owned. No church stood near, no choir wore robes, no candle dressed the air, only sawdust, seed and glass, and someone taking care. Yet there are ways a small life leaves that ask the room to see, a hand that knows how light to hold, what trembles to be free. Blue tag on the canary, tied before the child came in, bright as April's smallest flag beside the painted tin. Blue tag on the canary, not ribbon, prize or claim, only proof that even song was gently given a name. The child went out with both hands still, the bell swung once above, and in the shop one empty hook kept ringing after love. Before the breakfast trays came up, before the kettle stirred, the veranda boards held salt and dark, and one waking gull was heard. She opened both the ocean doors with wool across her arm, The wicker seats were cold with mist, the brass wheels slow to warm. A folded stack of gray lap rugs lay waiting by the wall, each with a patient's little tag, pinned careful, neat and small. She set the chairs in even line, then stopped beside the last. Its cane was split along one side, its footrest lowered fast. She turned it from the shadowed rail without a word or sound, until the empty waiting chair faced where the sun came round. A nurse went by with medicine, a tray cloth brushed her knee. The tide below the garden wall kept counting quietly. She tucked the blanket at the seat, then smoothed the corner flat, and placed a cushion near the back where one thin shoulder sat. The old man would be wheeled out soon, his paper in his hand, to read the same 3 headlines twice and watch the fishing land. She knew he never asked for much, nor said the light was dear. She only made the morning wait a little closer there. Some rooms begin before we come, some kindness starts unseen. A chair turns slightly toward the dawn, a rug laid soft and clean. Not every gift is handed out, not every mercy speaks. Some simply finds the proper angle for the light a body seeks. Face the chairs east, let the sea grow pale, let the first gold touch the hands that tremble on the rail. Face the chairs east, no one need explain how much a little brightness means after a season of rain. Face the chairs east while the house is still, before the cups, before the calls, before the morning chill. Face the chairs east, one careful turn no more, and they came in like tenderness across the painted floor. At 7, wheels crossed over boards. The old man took his place, and sunrise, finding where to go, arrived upon his face. The river had not found its shine, the ropes were wet and black, and fog lay low along the posts, where mornings turn men back. You stood beside the ticket chain, with tar upon one sleeve, a pouch of fares against your waist, too still to make believe. The gulls cried over pilings there. A crate slid on the floor, and every coat along the rail brought April to the shore. An old man came with one brown cane, his hat held to his chest. The ferry bell had warned us once, the deckhands called the rest. You saw his foot test empty air between the dock and prow, then took the plank with both your hands and laid it gently down. Lay the plank slow, lay the plank slow, not for show and not for thanks, but so the weak may go. Lay the plank slow. I watched the river wait and saw how grace can make a bridge from ordinary weight. The captain checked his pocket watch. A truck coughed near the shed. A woman tied her scarf again and turned her face ahead. You held the rail while he crossed through, not speaking of his pride, then lifted up his market bag and set it just inside. He nodded once and found a bench. The bell rang clear and thin. You pulled the plank back from the dock before the tide came in. My own fare lay warm in my glove, my errand plain and small, but something in that careful pause had changed the landing all. No one will name the river boards, the rope, the chain, the bell, or count the small delaying acts that help a person well. Yet some work holds the world in place by giving time its due. A plank set down before a step, a hand that thinks it through. Lay the plank slow, lay the plank slow, till the hurried morning learns what patient waters know. Lay the plank slow, no ribbon, rose or flame, only a crossing made with care, and no one called by name. The ferry moved, the dock grew pale, the fog began to clear, and on the wet boards where you stood, that quiet bridge stayed near. The window kept the city warm, the curtain rose and fell. One yellow bar from out the hall lay on the floorboard still. You'd come in tired and half undressed, and fallen fast asleep. asleep. One wrist across your forehead there, as if the day ran deep. The room was small as rented things are small in August heat. A picture chair, 2 traveling cases, and 1 soft pair of feet. So I rolled the bath towel tight and laid it to the floor to keep the draft, the light, the talk from reaching anymore. I made a little shore of cloth against the world outside, the towel under the door. Somebody laughed beyond the stairs. A tap kept dripping thin. A woman's heel went past our room. Then nothing else came in. You never stirred except to turn and find me in your sleep. Your hand came searching once for mine and settled there to keep. No vow was spoken in that heat. No moon made silver news. Only a plain white hotel towel and one thing I could do for love when it has had no ease and money's running poor. We'll make a kingdom out of less than most are looking for. So I rolled the bath towel tight and laid it to the seam, and all the hallway with its lamp stopped just outside our dream. The room stayed small, the bed stayed hard, the night stayed hot and sure. Still I have loved few things as much as the towel under the door. By morning it was only cloth beside a scuffed up frame, but all night long it held the dark and let us be the same.
The optician's bell had hardly rung. The streetcars thinned toward 5, and dust along the counter glass kept little sons alive. He stood beneath the eye chart there, with lenses in a tray, the trial frames beside his hand, the afternoon gone gray. A schoolboy chose a tortoise pair, a clerk wrapped cases brown, and May leaned through the striped front shade upon the quiet town. She came in with her sewing bag, her thimble in one seam. She said the needle looked too small and tried to make it seem a thing that happens now and then, a nuisance, nothing more. But both her hands held tight around the handle at the door. He set the little silver frame across her careful face, then turned the dial lens by lens with unannouncing grace. The black marks blurred, then cleared, then blurred. She laughed and looked away, as if the room had caught her age too plainly in the day. He did not say the years had come, or ask how long she'd known. He only took the pointer down and lowered what was shown. One line larger softly said, "Then we shall find the right." And all the shop grew kinder there around her borrowed sight. Some pride is made of tiny things, a thread passed through the eye, a name read on a medicine box, a bus sign going by. And some men know the merciful can live in where they stand, not changing what the truth has said, but placing it near hand. One line larger, let the letters stay. Let the world come close enough to meet her halfway. One line larger, plain black upon the white, yet something in her lifted chin returned into the light. One line larger, till the blur gives way, till the smallest useful things come back into the day. One line larger, no comfort spoken through, only a careful chart brought down where failing eyes could do. At closing time, the case is shut. The pointer found its wall, and in the glass one lowered line still answered for us all.
Twilight rests upon the wall, the lamp is trimmed and low. The phonograph begins to sing in accents soft and slow. You lift your hand to mine, as if by old design. The velvet rug remembers well this little step of thine, a little waltz to close the day in grace, with starlight on your face, a little waltz. The teacups have grown still, the fire has lost its flame, yet when you smile and murmur, darling, the room is young again. keeps one star. The curtains breathe and sigh. A silver hush moves through the room, like music passing by. No grand serenade was needed, no trumpet from afar. Your shoulder near my own tonight outshines the brightest star. A little waltz to close the day in grace, with starlight on your face. A little waltz. The record turns to silence. The lamp grows faint and small. Still one sweet measure lingers on and blesses all the walls. Twilight leaned on window glass. The cobblestones were bright. A phonograph behind the bar turned low into the night. The waiter moved in quiet shoes. The lamps were velvet dim. Your cup still kept a little steam, though you were gone from him. The door had closed a moment past. Its brass still held a sigh, and all the rain along the pane looked slower than goodbye. The chair by the window still faced the place where you had been, and held the hush you left within. The chair by the window, your silhouette stayed for a while in glass and amber light, as if the room could not yet lose the shape you wore tonight. A teardrop trembled, never fell. I would not let it show. The marble kept your folded check beside the afterglow. The phonograph grew soft and thin. The rain kept time outside. chair, the cup, the pain, the room that stayed the same. And yet I think some evenings keep a tenderness unknown, where one chair waits beside the glass and learns to stand alone. The chair by the window still faced the place where you had been, and held the hush you left within. The chair by the window. The lamps grew small, the rain grew fine. The last cup lost its heat. Still one chair by the window kept your absence in its seat. The folding chairs are set in rows, the soup is keeping warm, and under stairs the basement pipes begin their little storm. You stand beside the kitchen shelf with steam along your sleeve, a pencil tucked behind your ear, too busy to believe. The enamel pans are cooling down, the ladles hang in pairs. A stack of plates waits near the door for whoever takes the stairs. You taste the broth and lower salt, then stir it once again, as if the whole cold neighborhood were coming in from rain. The boys bring chairs from Sunday school, the old men move them back. A woman folds the tablecloth along its printed crack. You open up the recipe box and find the card you need, written small in someone's hand for cabbage, cream and seed. You read the corner where it fades, then smile and close your eyes, and set the card back where it lives among the cakes and pies. The card in the recipe box, soft at the edge from years of hands, told more than any silver dish of what a room understands. The card in the recipe box, not merely how much flour to take, but how to feed a winter hour and leave no one awake to ache. No one will praise the pencil mark, the thumbprint near the name, the little cross beside the word that says to lower flame. Yet every supper has a past that stands behind the steam. Somebody's measure, somebody's care, still entering the dream. The card in the recipe box, placed back between the bread and stew, held all the quiet hands before that somehow worked through you. The card in the recipe box, plain as paper, worn and small, yet when you close the wooden lid, it seemed to bless us all. The supper bell is rung upstairs, the basement fills with feet, and in the box the old card rests, still warm from being read. The room was blue as folded silk. The pane kept one small star. A hush from tired twilight stayed about the things that are. My brushes waited in their jar like guests who knew the hour. The floorboards held the last of night. The curtain bent and bowed. Below, a magnolia moved so lightly in the air. Its fragrance climbed the narrow stair as if to find me there. Then on the glass my silhouette grew pale and fine and mild, as though the morning entering had asked to be let in. Where the first light fell, the heart grew still enough to hear what night had left unspoken there. Where the first light fell, no footstep climbed the attic stair, no voice disturbed the room. Yet every jar and silver tray seemed listening in the gloom. A teardrop gathered on the brush, then trembled into gleam. Not sorrow fit for any name, but sorrow near a dream. Outside the roofs were pearl and smoke. Inside the canvas bare began to hold a little more than emptiness and air. No serenade came up the stair, no radiant summons shone. But when the first faint gold appeared, I felt less left alone. For some things do not come as joy, nor leave as sorrows do. They only lay a tender hand upon the heart, then move. Where the first light fell, the heart grew still enough to hear what night had left unspoken there. Where the first light fell. The star went out upon the pane. The blue began to yield. I set one quiet color down, as though a vow were sealed. And long after the room grew bright and common day took hold, something in me stayed listening. Where the first light fell. Twilight rests upon the wall. The lamp is trimmed and low. The phonograph begins to sing in accents soft and slow. You lift your hand to mine as if by old design. The velvet rug remembers well this little step of thine. A little waltz to close the day in grace, with starlight on your face. A little waltz. The teacups have grown still. The fire has lost its flame. Yet when you smile and murmur, darling, the room is young again. The window keeps one star. The curtains breathe and sigh. A silver hush moves through the room, like music passing by. No grand serenade was needed, no trumpet from afar. Your shoulder near my own tonight outshines the brightest star. A little waltz to close the day in grace, with starlight on your face. A little waltz. The record turns to silence. The lamp grows faint and small. Still one sweet measure lingers on and blesses all the walls. The dome was dark before the show. The seats held winter air, and on the desk beside the charts, the little stars lay bare. You stood beneath the lowered sky with chalk upon your sleeve. The brass plates stacked in careful piles, too still to quite believe. A row of coats along the rail gave November to the room. And somewhere in the lobby hall, a school bell lost its tune. The children waited 2 doors down, their mittens in a heap, their voices bright enough to wake the painted heavens from sleep. You checked the map, then stopped your hand and frowned, but only slight, for Orion missing one small borrowed point of white. You found it near the projector base, no bigger than a seed, a white pin fallen from the sky where no one else would heed. You lifted it between two nails, then climbed the narrow stair and set it in the velvet dark as if it answered there. A boy outside began to ask if Mars was truly red. The usher hushed the waiting line, the clock moved on ahead. You stepped back once to judge the place, not proud and not for show. And all at once that paper night had somewhere else to go. No one would know the sky had failed by such a little mark. The children would have watched the stars and never missed the dark. But there are hands that mend a world before the lights begin, and give the farthest things their names by putting small things in. Orion was missing only one pale spark, only one quiet point of care against a borrowed dark. Orion was missing. You set the heavens true and made a room of waiting eyes look up because of you. Orion was missing, then found beneath your hand, not moon, not vow, not golden flame, but something made to stand. Orion was missing. I saw the lesson clear. A sky can turn more merciful when someone notices here. The lights went down, the children gasped, the dome began to glow, and in his belt one little star held all the dark in row.
The lamps came on above the stream, one by one, then two. The river took their trembling gold and pulled it long in blue. The office doors had emptied out in ledgers, hats, and haste. The bridge kept all our weekday feet in one familiar pace. I saw it first before I saw your face against the veil. That length of wool I knew as yours, the scarf on the rail. You always came before I did and leaned there toward the tide, as if the whole day only kept a little room beside. No bouquet bright, no practiced line, no grand and public tale, just evening iron river wind, the scarf on the rail. You'd looped it through the blackened bars to free your hands from cold. One glove around the paper cup, one hand the railing held. The steam went briefly through your hair, then vanished in the dim. And all at once the bridge we crossed each day grew close and warm with him. No promise had to make itself above that traffic hum. We knew the hour, the corner light, the step by which I'd come. And love When it has learned the week grows punctual and plain, it hangs its little banner first against the dark and rain. You always came before I did and left one sign in view. So even from the farthest end, the bridge was already you. And still when winter takes the lamps and dusk comes early pale, I think of all that waited there, the scarf on the rail. The river kept on under us, the cup went empty thin. You took the wool back to your throat and tucked the whole sky in.
The pool bell rang at 4:30. The whistles lost their bite, and July shone along the tiles in squares of watery light. She stood beside the towel desk there, with soap upon one sleeve, the wire basket stacked by number, the air too warm to leave. A boy came in with goggles lost, two sisters shared a comb. The lifeguard shook his canvas shoes and called the last ones home. Then near the bench, a little girl rose slowly from her chair, one rubber cap held in her fist, two bright new crutches there. Her mother reached to take her arm, the child pulled back with pride. The wet floor waited blue and still between the bench and side. She saw the shining danger first, before a foot had found that one slick square beside the drain where laughter thinned the sound. No warning crossed the locker room, no pity filled the place. She only took a folded towel and bent with quiet grace. She dried the tile from edge to edge, then stepped behind the door. So what had nearly caught the child was only floor once more. Dry the tile first, let the crossing be. Let a little borrowed courage move where none can see. Dry the tile first, plain cotton blue and white. Yet all the room grew safer there before she entered light. Some falls are stopped before they fall, some kindness leaves no trace. A towel folded back again, a hand not shown its place. And some who know the tender art of helping without claim can clear the smallest shining square and never call it shame. Dry the tile first, let the crutches ring. Let her reach the doorway proud as if she did the thing. Dry the tile first, no ribbon, no applause, only a quiet cause. The basket slept, the pool went dark, the towel cart rolled away, and near the drain, one Drier Square held summer for the day.